An art dealer once said to me, "Artists are awkward people, you know, they have their own ideas." But seriously, we do need to be strong-minded to pursue what's in us. This is a brief account to explain a little of how I think as an artist. This painting, a deciduous tree in the middle of a pine forest, speaks of the single-mindedness required to be an artist and also a Christian. Life has been quite an intense journey these past few years, which has translated into my art. Whilst out driving one day, I was struck by the darkness in these trees. The sun then broke through, and the darkness was gone. What a powerful subject matter, I thought. Light overcoming darkness. This became my focus for a while. The thinking behind this painting is the more we consider God's beauty, the more his light takes over and dispels our darkness. Luke 11:36 says, "If you are filled with light, with no dark corners, then your whole life will be radiant, as though a floodlight were filling you with light." Still on the theme of light, I once asked God how he would paint light if he were restricted to paint and canvas. This challenged me to paint the throne room of heaven, and using Revelation 4 as my inspiration, I set about it. This is the result. Standing before the King, I fall silent. To praise, to bow, to fall, simply worship. I do not speak, I stand silently. Such beauty, so much peace, love flowing over me, embracing, overwhelming, utterly at peace. One day I noticed that the headland had totally changed in appearance on account of the mist. This painting depicts a small figure looking at the light. Sometimes in life the mist comes in and all our problems are distorted. The key thought is to have our focus in the right place. This is a painting of hope and light overcoming our darkest moments. It was painted shortly after the great storm in 2013. I looked at the sky and the storm threatened, but then there was light. The sky really was this divided into light and dark. When I saw this valley, it was in dark shadow, with the sun shining selectively on only a few fields. My consideration was that when you find yourself in such a valley, look up and let God's light shine on you. Let his peace and assurance flow, knowing he is with you and doing a work of beauty in your life. As I worked on it, I became frustrated by my technique, so I returned to my favoured medium, oils, in which I was trained at art school. What followed was an exciting journey of greater freedom and discovery. This little painting demonstrates just what can be done with a few simple strokes of paint. At the same time, I developed the practice of actually sitting out in the landscape to paint. A day spent in the hills, just looking and being, imprints the experience into one's soul. It becomes part of you. This wholeness of experience flows freely into the painting as I work through it. This is a close-up of a small part of the previous painting. It's all about the joy of the actual paint, the activity, the colours, the passion felt. To me, it's like life itself, a journey of making it through, each moment building towards a great masterpiece, for we are indeed God's handiwork. Ravished by Harvest is a painting from such an experience, a fleeting moment of great impact on my senses. The sun broke through and shone as a searchlight sweeping across the land. This photo merge was all I was able to record of this moment, but my emotional memory was enough. Below was the field. Harvest had been stripped away, leaving carnage in its wake. A dramatic and violent event. There's coming a time soon when the light of God will sweep across the land, searching men's hearts, looking into their very souls, and there will be a harvest. It will not be gentle, it will be urgent. These two small paintings, both no more than 6 inches square, showed the newfound freedom I was finding in my work. I was experiencing great joy in painting this way. However, I discovered that small does not necessarily mean easy. These works, entitled Elements, are from a whole series of paintings I did one summer. They were experimental by nature and started off as a light-hearted project, but they became a serious body of work in which I laid bare all the elements of landscape to express as simply as possible what I saw. Here again is a painting simply expressing the wonderful colours of late summer, seen in the evening sky. This painting is all about my experience of actually being out there in the late evening. Here are 3 small works depicting fleeting mists, coastline colours and layers of field and hedgerow, small interpretations of the Isle of Man. As I walk or sit out in it, the island's beauty simply gets to me, so I try to capture it. The next image is from one such encounter of beauty I had whilst picking my way across the rocks at low tide. I noticed these little rock pools, but they were teeming with life. Each one was catching the light of the sun, transforming them into bright jewels, even though they were insignificant. Thinking on this, I heard God say, "Be still, my child, and you will perfectly reflect my glory." We might seem insignificant, but we can reflect His light and become things of great beauty. Finally, Expanse, a large work painted on the floor of the gallery by literally throwing paint and water at it. My creator's handiwork moves me to distraction, so I have painted from my heart, not an account of the landscape, but an intensely felt response to land, seas and skies as an absorbing entirety, a vastness you can lose yourself in.